I overheard my boyfriend bragging to his friends about cheating with my best friend, so I ghosted them both and then karma hit hard when she got pregnant. I'll try to keep this as organized as possible, but I'm still shaking with anger as I type this. I 27F have been with Johnny, 29M, for 2 years. We met at the local coffee shop where I work as a barista while building my own bakery business. He came in every morning for his coffee before heading to his construction job and always left a generous tip. At first, I just thought he was being nice, but then he started making small talk and asking about my day. Some background about me. I grew up in a conservative family in a small town about 3 hours from here. My parents run a successful real estate business and always pushed me and my siblings to get good educations. I moved to the city for college against their wishes. They wanted me to attend a local community college and join a family business. But I was determined to forge my own path. I got my degree in business with a focus on entrepreneurship. My dream was always to open my own bakery. My grandmother taught me to bake when I was young, and it's been my passion ever since. I started working at the coffee shop right after graduation to learn the ins and outs of running a food service business. That's where I met Johnny. He would come in at exactly 6:30 a.m. every morning, order the same thing, large black coffee with an extra shot, and chat with me for a few minutes before heading to work. After about 2 months of this routine, he finally asked me out. I was hesitant at first. He wasn't the type of guy I usually dated. He had dropped out of college after 1 semester, worked various construction jobs, and hung out with a pretty rough crowd. My best friend Tabby, 26F, was actually the one who convinced me to give him a chance. We've been best friends since freshman year of college when we were randomly assigned as roommates. We clicked instantly and stayed roommates all 4 years. She's like the sister I never had. When I told her about Johnny asking me out, she said I needed to stop being so judgmental and give the working class hero a shot. Tabby has been dating Kurt, 31M, for about 3 years. He's a successful software developer and totally different from Johnny, but they seem to get along okay at first. Kurt was always a bit wary of Johnny though. He said something felt off about him but could never put his finger on what exactly. I brushed it off as him being overprotective. He's treated me like a little sister ever since Tabby introduced us. My parents were less subtle about their disapproval. When I brought Johnny home for Christmas last year, my dad pulled me aside and said I was wasting my potential on a blue-collar nobody. I defended Johnny fiercely. He might not have a degree, but he worked hard and had dreams of starting his own construction company someday. We had huge fights about it and I ended up leaving early that Christmas. The first year and a half with Johnny was amazing. He was attentive, romantic, and always made time for me despite his long work hours. He would surprise me with my favorite pastries from different bakeries around the city, saying he was doing market research for my future shop. He took me on weekend trips to nearby towns, saying he wanted to show me different architecture styles for inspiration. He even started hinting about rings and marriage. The only real issue was his friends from the construction crew. Most of them were guys who couldn't hold down steady jobs and were always involved in some kind of drama. They would show up at his apartment at all hours asking for money or favors. Johnny would always help them out, saying they were just going through rough patches and needed support. I admired his loyalty even though I thought they were taking advantage of him. Things started changing about 6 months ago. Johnny began working later and later, saying he was taking on extra side jobs to save money. He was always too tired to go out when we did have time together. He stopped talking about our future plans and would change the subject when I brought up moving in together. He also started getting really protective of his phone, taking it with him even to the bathroom and always keeping it face down. I noticed Tabby acting different too. She started canceling our weekly coffee dates or showing up late and distracted. She said work was crazy busy, she's an office manager at a law firm, and she was pulling extra hours. I believed her because she'd never given me reason not to trust her before. Last week changed everything. I had just finished my morning shift and decided to surprise Johnny at his apartment. He had seemed really stressed lately and I wanted to cheer him up. I made his favorite cookies, double chocolate chip with sea salt, and headed over around 2 p.m. He had told me he was working until 6 that day, but I saw his truck in the parking lot. As I walked up to his door, I heard several male voices and loud laughter. I recognized his work friends and was about to knock when I heard my name. Johnny was in the middle of telling them how he'd been hooking up with Tabby behind my back for months. He laughed about how clueless I was, not noticing anything even when they would leave parties early together or when she started bringing him lunch at job sites. His friends were all laughing and congratulating him on scoring with Tabby. One of them asked if he was going to leave me for her. Johnny said hell no, he needed a respectable girlfriend for his business image and I was perfect for that with my college degree and good family. But Tabby was more his speed for having fun. I felt like someone had dropped a ton of bricks on my chest. I couldn't breathe. The cookie slipped from my hands and shattered on his welcome map. I ran to my car and somehow made it home through tears. I spent that night alternating between crying and throwing up. The next morning, I blocked both of them on everything, phone, social media, email. I blocked all of Johnny's friends who knew about their affair too. I called my boss and switched to evening shifts at the coffee shop so Johnny couldn't find me there. I warned my coworkers not to tell him anything about my schedule. Johnny showed up at the shop several times looking confused and asking why I wasn't responding to his messages. My coworkers told him I had quit. He tried reaching me through mutual friends, but I had already told them what happened. Even the friends who didn't fully believe me agreed to not pass messages from him. Tabby sent me dozens of emails with subject lines like "Please let me explain" and "I'm so sorry." I deleted them all without reading past the preview. She tried to get Kurt to talk to me, but I ignored his messages too. I couldn't deal with anyone connected to either of them. It's been a week now. I alternate between rage and devastating sadness. My parents were right about Johnny all along, but I was too stubborn to see it. At least I found out before we got engaged or moved in together like we had been planning. I'm throwing myself into work in my bakery business plans. I've already signed up for a small business workshop and started looking at potential locations. Focusing on my goals is the only thing keeping me sane right now. I know I'll eventually have to deal with seeing them around town since we live in the same area and have overlapping social circles. But right now I just want to be left alone to process this betrayal. How do you ever trust anyone again after your boyfriend and best friend stab you in the back?